Hello there, people of the internet. So, I have had a couple of people ask me about the procedures for clearing malfunctions with a handgun. Typically, these people are newer people, and they don't necessarily have a lot of experience with handguns, and they don't necessarily know exactly how they work, etc., etc. So I figured I'd just go ahead and make a little in-depth video on, the different kinds of malfunctions that you're going to see with handguns, how to clear them, go into like the real basic fundamentals on how handguns actually work. So let's go ahead and get started with that. We're going to start off with how they actually work, and that will make me telling you guys how to actually clear them a lot easier. A lot of you guys who are watching this video probably know all of what I'm about to say right now, so this might not necessarily be a video for people to watch if you are very adept whenever it comes to your fundamentals with various firearms, especially handguns, because we're going to be discussing handguns. But the same principles of what I'll be teaching do fall under the categories of things that you could use for clearing malfunctions in other types of platforms as well, whether or not they're rifles or shotguns, etc., etc. So the basic fundamentals on how a handgun actually works: you load your magazine. Whenever you load your magazine, you want to make sure that your projectiles are facing forward in the direction that they're going to be firing out of your handgun. I have seen many times people try and load their projectiles in backwards. Remember, your projectile, which is that copper piece on the front end of the cartridge, that's going to fly out the front of the barrel. You want that facing in that direction. So you're going to load your magazine with the projectile facing in that direction. So whenever you load it into your handgun, the projectile is going to be facing in the direction that is going to be going out the barrel. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pull the magazine out so I can show this. Every time you pull that trigger, your handgun is going to cycle like this. It's going to happen very fast. Most of the time you're not going to even see it happening, but it's going to go backwards like this and forwards like that. Whenever it goes backwards, it is going to use some sort of extractor and ejector combination system. Every handgun has basically the same thing, but they all are a little bit different. You're going to have some sort of mechanism that extracts the round from the back of the chamber and ejects it out of the handgun. And then upon the spring pushing the slide back forward, you're going to have a round stripped from the magazine that is inside the handgun and shove that round into the back of the chamber, getting ready to fire again. A lot of handguns, they'll lock open on an empty magazine. This is for like reloading faster. It is for actually letting someone know that they're out of ammunition. Whenever your magazine is empty, like this one right here is, the handgun will automatically lock open, ready for you to pull the old magazine out, sticking a new one. Then you drop the slide and you continue to run, or you put your handgun away depending on what it is that you're doing. Most of your malfunctions with a semi-automatic handgun, this right here is going to help so many people out. Most of your malfunctions can be cleared no matter what they are if you just tap the magazine and rack the slide, just like that. This right here is clear. I'm holding the slide release so it racks back and forth like that. But a vast majority of malfunctions are done because the magazine is either not seated properly, or the magazine maybe has taken some damage, or the magazine is just, poorly made, etc., etc. The magazine is a very, very, very big attributing factor to a lot of the issues that people have with handguns. So if you have a handgun and it's just not working well at all, try smacking that magazine in a little bit further. Maybe it's just not seated properly. And then rack your slide, rack that malfunction round out, or whatever it is that you have going on. Rack that, get that out of there, chamber a new round, get back to handling whatever business it is that you're handling. All right, a couple of common malfunctions. Let's say there's a round in this magazine and you are firing, bang, bang, bang. Your slide does not lock to the back, but you still have ammunition in the magazine, but whenever it cycles, it fails to pick up a round. There's a pretty common occurrence, especially if your magazine is not seated all the way. That's where the idea of tapping the magazine into, fully into the firearm and then racking your slide, racking your slide to get another round into the chamber. That right there is a very good remediating factor to go ahead and try and get rid of that malfunction. If you have, uno momento por favor, something like this, where the empty case of the last round fire has failed to get out of the chamber, tapping your magazine, although not necessarily necessary in this particular situation, just, make that a muscle, muscle memory, a force of habit. Tap your magazine just to make sure she's seated, and then rack this back to let that spent casing get out of there, and then you'll let your slide go forward, chamber the next round, that's where the tap and rack comes in handy. The only time that a tap and rack will not come in handy, let me purposefully induce malfunction here. There we go. Let's say you are firing your gun. Yep, there we go. That'll work. You're firing your gun and it jams up like this. You still have a spent casing in the chamber of your firearm. And the slide is trying to feed another round into the back of the chamber. This right here is called a double feed. It is the most annoying situation to have to clear. It is possible, and a lot of people can do it very, very quickly, but if you're a new shooter, this right here is like one of the more troublesome ones to clear because you can't just tap and rack. If you tap the magazine in there, the magazine's already seated. If you try racking, the slide is already trying to feed a round from the magazine into the back of the chamber. Tapping and racking won't work. Lock your slide open, takes spring tension off of the magazine and the round and everything else. You're gonna pull your magazine out. Get that out of the way. This way, as the slide goes forward, it's not trying to push around from the magazine into the back of the chamber because the back of the chamber is obstructed by a spent casing. You're going to drop your slide, which is going to pop the extractor over that spent casing. And whenever you pull the slide back, remember what happens whenever you pull the slide back, it pulls that spent casing out of the chamber using the extractor and ejects it out of the handgun, just like that. And then after that, you can reinsert your magazine. You can lock your, or not lock your slide back, pull your slide back, slingshot it forward, and you're good to go to continue to fire. Go ahead, show on camera that I'm clearing this bad boy. She is clear. A more satirical malfunction, but I gotta go ahead and throw this in there because I've seen it happen on several occasions whenever I'm teaching new shooters. If you find yourself in a situation where your gun malfunctions and your slide locks backwards, and there's no more ammunition inside of your magazine, that means you're out of ammunition in the handgun and need to reload. Much like the double feed, you'll have to pull the magazine out of the handgun, take a new one with some actual ammunition in it, put the magazine back into the handgun, and drop the slide to where the slide will pull a new round from the magazine that is inside the handgun and put it into the back of the chamber, which is empty. I had to go ahead and say that because, like I said, there's been several times where I've had people run out of ammo and they think that the gun's malfunctioning. I've got to be like, hey, there's not an infinite amount of ammunition in that handgun. You're just out of ammo and you have to reload. That's why you have that other magazine. A lot of times whenever I'm teaching people, I'll have multiple magazines so they can practice their reloading processes as well. Let me go ahead and give this little tidbit of information as well. It comes in handy with people that are like older and a little on the weaker side. Whenever they're trying to rack the slide of a handgun, a lot of times they'll try pulling back on the handgun like this. I even had one instance where a dude bopped himself in the face whenever that happened. If you are weaker and you're having trouble pulling the slide back on a handgun to rack it, instead of pulling with this arm backwards in this direction, hold that in place and use your shoulder on your other arm, which is far stronger than just your hand on this arm. Use that to actually push the gun forward and then let go. Do that again. With this arm, this shoulder, push the gun forward, hold this hand in place, and then let go. I find teaching people that are like elderly or on the weaker side, this is a far more effective way to be able to let them rack the slide because of how strong the shoulder is in comparison to the hand and wrist. Alright, another very common kind of malfunction, not necessarily with factory ammo, but it is one that I see, especially with like hand loads and things like that. This right here is not loaded, but for all intents and purposes, let's say it is loaded, and I'm firing, it's going bang, 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 and click, and does not lock open. There's a good chance that either the slide of the handgun malfunctioned and it just did not lock open and I'm out of ammunition. So I can either check the magazine, see if there's still ammunition in it, or I can pull the slide back myself. If the slide locks open, that means I'm out of ammunition. But a lot of times you'll get like duds or things like that, or potentially hang fires. You definitely don't want to just bang, bang, click, and then immediately pull the slide back, unless, you know, you're in a fight for your life or anything like that. You want to give it time just in case it ends up being a hang fire. This way it doesn't detonate out of battery. But if it's a dud round and you tried firing it and it does not fire, rack your slide back. That'll eject that round that has been a dud. And if you have more ammunition inside of your magazine, then it will pull, well, it won't lock open and the slide will pull another round into the back of the chamber. Looks something like that. Alright, well, I think I've covered as many, like your more common malfunctions. I think I've covered those pretty damn well. Occasionally, if you're rocking like hand loads or something like that, you'll get what's called a squib load in the barrel. It's where the projectile doesn't fully exit the barrel and is still stuck in the barrel. Do not fire another round to try and clear that. You're going to destroy your gun. If you think you might have a squib load, which can be indicated by a lack of recoil, a lack of sound, basically just a round that seems like it's much weaker than all the others, rather than pull the trigger again and destroy your handgun, unload your handgun and stick some sort of like ramrod, cleaning rod or something down there. See if you can get that projectile out. See if you can figure out why it was a squib load, etc., etc. If you are uncertain about what it is that you're doing, then by all means go ahead and discuss it with somebody who is actually adapted and they have a wealth of knowledge on what to do in the event of a squib load. I recommend talking to somebody who actually knows what they're doing. For the most part, I've only seen it like, I don't know, 2 or 3 times in my entire life, and like, I think all of the times actually, we were able to take just a cleaning rod and knock out the squib load projectile from the barrel. We took the gun apart. Most of your handguns nowadays are just Browning tilting bolt actions, very simple and easy to take apart. We took it apart, just knocked it out of the barrel, and the gun was good to go, and we continued to fire it. Alright, that being said, I think I've covered basically everything that I have to cover in this video. Common malfunctions and how to clear them, along with the basic fundamental mechanics of your handgun. So thanks for watching, guys. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Description down below has a link to all sorts of different stuff. Go ahead and go check that out. And I think I already said this, but I'll say it again. Go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I mean that.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.